mio popolo d'eroi. Salve, o patria immortale, son rinati figli tuoi, con la fede nell'ideale, il valor dei tuoi guerrieri, la virtù dei pionieri, la vision della Righieri, oggi brilla in tutti i cuori. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella fretta, il tuo canto squilla e va. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella fretta, il tuo canto squilla e va. Dell'Italia nei confini son rifatti gli italiani, li ha rifatti Mussolini, per la guerra di domani, per la gioia del lavoro, per la pace, per la loro, per l'agonia di coloro che la patria rinnegar. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella fretta, il tuo canto squilla e va. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella fretta, il tuo canto squilla e va. I poeti, gli artigiani, signori e i contadini, con orgoglio di italiani, e giuran fede a Mussolini, non ve povero quartiere, che non passi le questiere, che non pieghi le bandiere del fascismo redentor. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella sprezza, il tuo canto squilla e va. Giovinezza, giovinezza, primavera di bellezza, della vita nella sprezza, il tuo canto squilla e va.
Okay. So I believe that we are recording here. Yes, we are. So that was just Giovinezza, the anthem of the Partito Nazionale Fascisti from Italy. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm not sure what we're calling this program yet, but it's it's gonna have a name. My name is Kyle Mosley. I am the leader of the regional leader, rather, for North America of the Schemusite Fascisti, or the United States, not North America. Whatever. And I am joined here by quite a few people, so we're going to go around here and let those who wish to introduce themselves do so. So, Honest, go ahead.
I am the Minister of Labour for the Schemusite Fascisti, and also the regional leader of England.
All right. Let's see. Seamus, you there, bud?
Yes, I am. Hello, I am the Encrenair of the Schemusite Fascisti. Seamus himself. I am the overall leader. Joining us here today, we have several new black shirts to the movement. Fetus Lettuce.
I do want to apologize. This is all being done over the internet, so some people might be, pandemic
Hello
and
there,
all.
let us introduce yourself, buddy.
Stick it out when I introduce myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just said I was from Wisconsin.
All right, so that's our Wisconsinite. We have John Cena.
That's me.
Not actual John
He's
Cena,
our,
just
uh,
like,
He's our Norwegian.
yeah.
Meatloaf.
Yeah. Fetus.
Then we have a couple others, and sure more to join us later, including our Swiss wing.
Yes, the Swiss are actually one of the more active wings of the
They are the most
Fascisti,
active.
yeah. They're tugging their weight, man. Swiss neutrality and all that, but damn. So to the format of tonight, as we don't have any special guests, though, I would like to add that in the future we very much intend to. We have made contact with quite a few people, and we're looking into having them on the show. But for tonight, our first sort of episode, I figured that it would be, and Seamus figured that it would be appropriate to have a sort of round table, kind of go around and, talk about different things related to the movement, related to what we're doing in terms of activism. We've gone from being just a couple guys with an idea to a couple dozen people. And, while that's still very small compared to other political organizations, even in the fascist sphere of things, it is still, it's coming together, and, we really like how it's shaping up. So tonight we're going to discuss a couple different topics as part of that roundtable. The corporate state.
Some of the Fascisti have posted a few questions that they would have liked to ask in a forum earlier.
Yeah, why don't we...
A few borderline basic questions to go over before we get into more the political speaking of the fascist state.
Yeah, why don't we get into that? I'm trying to find that thread. Here it is. I found it. So, all right. So the first question is, what do you think about foreigners, and especially Jews?
We get this question a lot from, especially people who aren't familiar with fascism, who want to know more about fascism's particular views on certain groups, especially foreigners. I'll start off by saying that the Fascisti do not care about your race, skin, color, nor creed. What brings us all together is the unilateral belief that the betterment of the country is the first and foremost goal of our movement. That speaking, however, the Fascisti staunchly stands against any kind of uncontrolled immigration into a country from any point in the world.
What's going on?
Nartex. This is a apostolistic guard, commandant Tax.
I prefer the term I prefer the title captain.
Captain.
All right.
The title of captain.
Captain.
Yeah, I do want to
Captain
apologize.
Tex here.
I do want to apologize. We're not in any kind of professional studio right now, and
Yeah,
I
this
have fucking dogs.
Yeah, this is just a.
So we're just chilling. It's our first time. Things aren't gonna be perfect, but eventually things will come together over time.
Sorry, I gotta get a dinner, so I'll
go
be
ahead.
back quick.
Yeah, go ahead. We're just kind of relaxing right now, but so on the topic of foreigners and Jews, I mean, we want to halt uncontrolled immigration. Obviously, that's a big one. Is that sort of thing. But I don't have a problem with people of the Jewish or the Jewish conviction rather. Now, if they're, I might have trouble with Zionism.
No,
as
if
a
I'm not
philosophy.
mistaken, yeah, of course we stand against Zionism as a philosophy due to its Israel-centric belief of the world. We support Zionism in Israel, of course. The Zionists in Israel should be content with being nationalists and caring for their country above all else. But we believe that Zionism outside of Israel is dangerous to the state that it inhabits, right? And we believe that at all costs, these Zionists, the people who believe in Zionism, should be promoted to go to Israel, the country that they wish to be part of, right? And that's an important conviction of most modern nationalist movements. You look at them is the dispersal of people who want to go back to their countries with government support. so that it's a fair and easy return to where they want to be. You know.
Yeah.
Speaking about that though, the I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, aren't you yourself a little bit Azerkenny? There, Kyle.
All right, listen.
If I do remember.
I took a 23andMe. I took a 23andMe, and it's like 1.6%. So don't construe that as me being a member of the tribe. All right, that's not what this is about. All right, it's not fair. But yeah, I mean, honestly, anyway. Honestly, the more concerning part was it was something like 2% Persian. Like, where the fuck did I get that? But anyway, like, it was really weird. The rest of the, like, genetic map was, like, Western Europe, like France, Britain, Germany. Just what I thought, right? And then fucking, like Persian. And I was like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? I'm very interested in learning about the Persian in my ancestry. But anyway, so...
the second question that our
moving
Swiss
past
friend
that.
asked here is, any other fascist groups that we like or affiliate with?
Yes.
There are a few. The Scheibeseit Fascisti itself is more of a loose movement of other groups.
Yeah.
The idea is that the Scheibeseit Fascisti would be an overreaching ideology, while each and every subsection of it would independently control its own movements and own activism around the central philosophy of Scheibeseit fascism. And on that same topic, we became affiliated with a number of groups, including the New British Union under Gary Reeks through our connect Caden, the Irish Volunteers, and a few other groups like that. The Apostolistic Guard, as you heard earlier from Tex, and several groups like that they associate with us.
Yeah, I do want to apologize. You might hear my dogs are playing in the background, but I can't get them to shut up. But so anyway, yeah, that's basically and on top of or on the topic of groups that we just like but we don't affiliate with, or that we not from lack of trying, we have definitely tried to get in touch with these people, but National Reformation Party, Patriot Front, those groups here in the United States, doing a lot of great stuff. They are. Of course, we support the broader right wing kind of nationalist movements that have sprung up in the United States in the last couple of years and around the world too. I'm just speaking from an American perspective here, but we're aware of.
I'm sure here in Europe we support the groups that are popping up as well, Casa Pound, the Falal.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah. But here in the United States, it's really different because a lot of movements are more of like quasi-fascist instead of like just straight up, you'll still have your fascist movements like NRP or PF or us, but like there's certainly a large sect of groups like the America First movement who isn't really organized, but it's more of just under that Nick Fuentes guy. They're very nationalistic and a very, as their name would suggest, America First. And, but in terms of,
they certainly espouse some views that would be in line with a fascist policy.
Yeah,
but
they do.
They lack any kind of like proper direction for their groups, which
Yeah.
we hope to see cultivate in the later years. Like the fascists, started out as just a loose bound of different groups who wanted to intervene in World War I in Italy, for example. It took time and it took effort to bring these groups together into one solid group, and that was a very time consuming and a troubling time period for the fascist movement, which was its slow unification with other groups, right? And that loose kind of movement like that. It always leads to this kind of conglomeration into a larger centralized movement, and that's what needs to happen to a lot of those American nationalist groups.
Yeah, so we're hoping that history sort of repeats itself here in the United States. I mean, really, you could compare a lot of what was going on in Italy at the time to what's going on in the U.S. now. There's certainly quite a bit of left-wing agitation. There's certainly a lot of divide over, issues like, intervention in foreign countries, the unemployment issues in the United States. The coronavirus pandemic has definitely created another surge of nationalism, ironically, because I'm not quite sure actually what's caused that, but I would think that it would probably be just as a reaction to like the, I mean, we're seeing now that the lockdown, at least as big as it wasn't really necessary. And so I think that people have kind of had a negative reaction to that, and they're blaming, left-wing groups for it. Which I can understand because, you see these fucking Washington people, they push it so fucking hard. But, but anyway.
Yeah, it made it. The COVID-19 especially has been what really kickstarts a lot of our movements. It's these moments of self-reflection that really allows the fascist movements and movements like it to earn its name and earn its place. Because it's these world-changing events that push people to look for solutions that people usually wouldn't look at. Right. For example, before COVID-19, of course, fascism was misrepresented by a band of white supremacists at Charlottesville. They labeled them as fascists and other things like that, which overall damaged the movement in its long run, right?
Yeah.
Which is a sad time sad moment for the fascist movement. But what has really restored the vigor and the vitality of the American movement and movements around the world was the economic collapses, the recessions, and the general failure of liberal democracy as it is
You're a bit
to cope.
you're a bit close to your microphone.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. The general failure of the liberal democratic system to cope with the economic side effects of a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
look what happened in. I think a lot of people got, sort of, they got woke up by the, if you remember a couple months ago, this was back when Mr. Trump was still president. They were looking at a stimulus like relief package for like Americans who make under a certain amount of money, and Pelosi signed off on it. Trump signed off on it. Schumer signed off on it. Pretty much everyone in Congress was like, yeah, this is good. We'll do this. The GOP and the Democrats were both ready to cooperate on it. And what fucked it up? Mitch McConnell. He just fucking sat back and was like, well, no, I don't think I'm going to do this because partisan
is
politics
the
and all that.
inefficiencies of our system.
Yeah,
The
it really just
inefficiencies
comes
of our
down to it's two things: partisan politics and the just inability of the system to react in time to these sorts of things. And it really showed the cracks, the flaws in the the system of liberal democracy. And that was something that
Now I want
definitely-
to hold on. Now I want to point out something for you. The Time magazine did this really interesting article called yeah, I started rereading it again. We were talking about it, a few of us, the other day. They did this really interesting article called "The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election for Biden," where they talk about how this cabal of rich and powerful members of high-ranking corporate pods around the United States work together to systemically break down the electoral vote in order to slide it in the way of Biden, and they admit to that publicly. They just admitted to it now that Biden has been inaugurated.
Yeah, you remember when that
I'll
was
actually read.
you remember when that was a conspiracy theory?
Absolutely, absolutely. We were called insane for our beliefs that the election could have been rigged. But here we go. Here's a quote right from the Time magazine. It was all very, very strange. Within days of the election, we witnessed orchestrated an effort to anoint the winner, even while many key states were still being counted. Thus, in a way, Trump was right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
But they waited. They held on to this until February 4th and published it afterwards so that they would get away with their heinous crime,
Yeah.
with their manipulation of democracy.
And the thing I want people to remember here, and something about Trump that I really want people to take away as we as we kind of close the the cover on this chapter of our history, I want people to remember that Trump himself is not he's not the big deal here. The big deal here is that he created a resurgence of American nationalism, which I think in the end will, Trump is not the end all be all. There will be another after him, and hopefully they won't be, as pretentious as he can be at times. That hopefully they'll be a fascist. That's the idea anyway. Is that we have that sort of culmination in everything that he's left behind, where it be this new attitude, this dissatisfaction with the system. It's something like 65% of Americans or something like that believe that the election was rigged.
Yeah.
You know, the
And
dissatisfaction
I mean, now we've had
system.
our suspicion confirmed about that, though. Now we've had our suspicion confirmed. It was indeed rigged.
Yeah, we've had our vindication there, and so hopefully the legacy of Donald Trump will not be him, but the man who comes after him, and hopefully the man that comes after him won't be a fucking grifter. But we can only hope.
Now this bleeds nicely into the third question that they listed. How did you become a fascist?
Oh, okay. I'll answer this
Yeah.
one first, since my
Go ahead.
my journey is kind of funny. So I used to be like a wignat, like when I was younger. I was fucking like, fucking 1488. I was in New Awakening. For those that know what New Awakening was, I was in it. And yeah, I mean, fucking crazy. Fucking fucking crazy people. I was all into the National Socialist LARP and everything, like. But the thing is when a lot of people, and myself included, a lot of people who are into that sort of thing, they don't really have a they haven't really actually read a lot of political theory. Like, they may have read books like Siege or The Brigade or Mein Kampf, but they haven't actually, sat down and understood their philosophy. They're just mad at the world. And, I met Seamus, and when Seamus met me, Seamus can attest to this, I was fucking all in on the goddamn Northwest Imperative LARP and all that. I was really into that. But he kind of steered me in the right direction. He sent me a bunch of Oswald Mosley books, and I actually read them, and I was like, I actually kind of associate with this better than I would National Socialism, especially because the thing about National Socialism is it's hard to hate all the time. I mean, it is just ridiculously difficult to, just be constantly this hateful person, like, oh, it's the fucking Jews controlling the world. Number one, Seamus, you bastard. We know it's the Irish that control the world. But anyway.
The Hibernian conspiracy.
Hibernian conspiracy. But, it is just very difficult to be, to base your entire worldview off of just hating other people. Like, I would rather my worldview be based off the, really, fascism is both very complex and very simple. The corporate state and traditionalism. That is something that I would much rather have my worldview be based off of. I won't say that I don't sometimes, still be a little bit edgy in my views, but I definitely don't hate other people just based off the color of their skin. Honestly, I don't think I ever did. I think it was a LARP, but but anyway, what about you, Seamus?
That's the hard part to get over for a lot of people like that. The people who entered into the first communities that accepted them. For a lot of people, that's how they get into white nationalism and Nazism. Is that those are the only people who really care, it seems, about their worries and their concerns, however misguided they may be. And that's why it's important that we offer the alternative of fascism, right? It's the only combatants against National Socialism and other ideologies like that is the fascist ideology, because not only is it wholesale and encompassing, but it's also brotherly. It's a man wound, if you will, a brotherhood and a family, basically, of people who agree ideologically that the necessary step for them is to the betterment of the country and the betterment of their people, whoever those people may be. It does not matter. How I became a fascist, I wasn't a Wignat. What I was a radical socialist. In my time as a socialist was tough. I believed wholeheartedly that the only solution to the issues that were presented was the proletarian state and the dictatorship of the proletariat and whatnot. I believed in that because I wanted to, and that's the truth about a lot of people. They believe in whatever their worldview will support. And that led me down the road of radical socialism, and I got involved with a lot of socialist groups. But in the end,
your microphone
was
is
university
covered up by something, I think. Yeah. But go ahead.
It's a really bad microphone.
Yeah,
it's a really bad
right.
microphone. I picked up. But that kind of the education is what changed me. Like, I went to university, and that is what changed my mind about almost everything, economically, socially, etc. That's why I became a fascist. Do you guys, do any of you in the chat here on the round table have any stories about Anis?
Yeah, I'd actually love to
yeah.
hear. I'd love to hear. Go ahead.
Well, the first I was a Marxist. The first political book I ever read was given. It was a book that was given to me by my father as a joke. It was Das Kapital. So I read this book, and I was presented with all of these injustices in our society, and all these things that are obviously terrible that are going on happening around us. And I was just presented with these problems with society, basically, with no solution. So I just read this book. It's by Marx. I just assumed that I was a Marxist because I didn't like what was happening. So for a very long time, I just went along with the Marxist charade until I read more about Leninism. I read some of Stalin's work, Trotsky's works, and I started to realize it was an ideology based out of internationalism, exploiting the revolution. It was all about revolting against something. It was all about war. It was all about destroying systems. It's about destroying livelihoods, destroying people. And from there, I quickly distanced myself from socialism straight away, and I took up a third position, a general third position. From there, I started reading accelerationist literature, not like the weird acceleration literature about blowing shit up, like philosophy, and just alternative ideologies. I was just trying to find solutions to these problems that were better than the ones that Marxism and Leninism proposed. From there, I found like the basis of fascism. I didn't pursue it at first, and basically I met Seamus in a Discord server. We talked a bit, and I agreed with most of his points. I think his solutions, they are better. They're the best solutions I've heard so far. And I've continued reading fascist literature, and I continue to agree with everything in them. So that is how I became fascist.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like we run into a lot of people who are either like ex-Nazis or ex-communists. There's no in between. We always run into.
Well,
those
yeah,
two
of course.
people.
Because it's not good. It's hard to get people who don't believe that anything wrong's happened. Like people who are liberal, people who are centrist, they don't think that anything with the current system is actually wrong.
I'm back from dinner.
Welcome back, Tex. We're just talking about how each and as an individual.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
right?
Tex next. I was gonna ask him.
Yeah. So Tex, how did you become a fascist?
Probably through like Reddit. Cringe as that is. Like, the $1 Million Extreme subreddit?
No, I've not heard of that one.
Well, there's $1 Million Extreme subreddit, and also Cringe Anarchy, and that was sort of the dissent, I believe, or ascent,
radicalization,
depending on how you view it,
and depending on your opinions of fascism. Yeah. A lot of people. That's the thing. I think the internet has actually done a lot of wonders for us in terms of because we are able to easily distribute literature. We're able to have contacts with people around the world. I mean, it's definitely been a gift to the movement in that in that regard.
It would have been a lot back in the day. It was a lot harder to tell people you were a fascist. I have a saying that I like to say. When people talk to me about how fascism is this or that, I say it is easier in the modern day to come out as a homosexual or a transgender than it is to come out as a fascist. Because the ideology...
Not if you're not a pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not if you're not a pussy, but I mean, it's that way.
If you want to
social reaction.
Keep your,
I'm not really
social
talking,
life or any
that's
semblance
what I'm talking
of it intact, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like, how it is like personally, like your own motive for it. Like, yeah, if you don't do it, you're a pussy. But if you do it, you face the social repercussions that are massive and almost unnecessarily fucking extreme social repercussions of just believing in a political ideology that people disagree with.
Yeah, and
And
the thing is,
that's what drives.
our ideology is like, unlike National Socialism, our ideology is not. And I've done a blog post on this, so I can talk about this all fucking day.
Listen, man, I wrote a blog.
Yeah, I listen, man. I wrote a long blog post about this. I could talk about this all day. Unlike that, our ideology does not advocate for hatred. It advocates for love of one's own country, but it doesn't advocate for hatred of any groups outside of it or any people based on the color of their skin or their religion or, it's a load of shit, really. Like, we get lumped in with those people when, like, we're not. We're not those people. Yeah, we're not those people. And we actually have just as much trouble with those people as we do with anti-fascists.
Really, though, we do.
Yeah, like, we're not on their side. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that we are not on their side. But anyway, do you, or how did your group start?
Well, that's an interesting story. I got into fascism about 4 years ago, and it was mostly underground back then. It was hardcore underground due to the whole Charlottesville affair.
Yeah, Charlottesville is only just now wearing off.
Yeah. Like, Charlottesville happened basically just after I became a fascist, so everything went underground, and it became really hard to justify being a fascist because people immediately associated you with neo-Nazis and white nationalists. So, in order to, protect your livelihood, I guess you could say, you had to live underground with that kind of ideology. So the movement initially started among me and a few other lads who were into reading the theory as an outlet, right? We wanted to expose our theory to each other without fearing that we were going to be fucking exercised from our society, from our communities, for our political beliefs. So what we did is we formed like a boxing club, basically. We'd meet up once a week. We'd box a little bit, and then we'd chat fascism and crack a few cold ones. That's how it was. But we realized that over time that things were
Sorry
wearing
if
off.
this is off topic.
Go ahead.
Have I asked you before if you know Stanchi?
No, you haven't.
Well,
I happen to not know a Stanchi.
Okay, because I do know a Stanchi, and I think he did try to start his own movement or sort of thing, but I think it sort of fell through.
Yeah, that happens a lot with fascist movements. They fall through, and that's what I thought that was going to happen with my movement too. I thought, we eventually were going to
whatever this is.
No, before the precursor to this, which was
if I may give a comment,
go ahead.
Fascisti or whatever, I think it's doomed to fail because of its scope. Its scope is worldwide.
And that's
its scope is sort of contradictory towards its ideology.
Not exactly. And
not
if you are familiar with, so hold on, no. We have quotes. We have quotes from our great ancestors of fascism to lean back on. Mussolini, in his final days, wrote something called the Palmero Confession, and the Palmero Confession exposed that he believed that fascism, isolated and alone, would never work. And he said to his brother Black Shirts in his writing, he said, "Spread forth the ideology to the world. Do not keep from the world the ideology of fascism. For now we may have to hide. We may have to live the normal life, live in society, the society that shuns us. We have to put our heads down.
I think you're construing the message of this document.
No, I'm not. He quite literally said that
spreading it worldwide doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a international movement. You can just have.
This isn't
This is less of an international movement. It's more of just we have ways to communicate with one another, right? So like
exactly.
and the thing is it's a mutual assistance thing. We help one another. We give each other, like we make resources for one another, posters, translate stuff for one another. We just translated a book from Italian that was only in Italian to English. We couldn't find an English version of that book.
Where was it? Where did you?
It's called The Cross. It's called The Cross and the Sword, and I'll upload it later.
Yeah, Seamus went through and I'm actually going to go through and do a touch up on it because I actually speak Italian. If this is going to be
sort of a multinational thing, it needs to limit its scope from action on ground, which should be more localized with
Yeah, that's how
each
it is.
Yeah, that's what we
country.
do. We push the localized. We
Here's
push
the
the
thing.
localized action.
No, even in the like a subsection within this thing, I think it should be completely out. There should be only like a hub where you share information, you create resources for each other. It's where you help each other, but you don't necessarily organize and bring to action from this center.
Well, what we're doing in terms of the American movement right now is we've got some people who live within, a couple of states of one another, myself included, and some of these people I've known for a couple of years now. So we're going to start figuring out. We're going to try to set up basically a permanent link between our areas and create like the first fully functioning chapter. I had intentions to put up
You can't really
posters.
create a chapter from people like say across state lines or that are big different distances away from each other. It's
Yeah,
a
but
bit that sort of defeats the purpose of having local chapters. If you
Well,
meet like
yeah,
See,
say
chapters
once
the
a
difference
year,
here, the difference,
that defeats the purpose.
chapter's kind of the wrong
the difference
word
here.
because it's more of just like
So the
like a
idea,
link.
text, the idea is that organizationally, it relies upon people to act at the local level willingly in voluntary discipline to one another and curate their own local regional aspects to which to fall under. I am a leader in name. I curated a infrastructure for people on which to discuss and disseminate information and to assist each other in the curation of their own localized fascist groups. I am not the end all do all. I'm not the El Duce here. They do not do everything I say because I tell them to. They do things I ask them to because they want to. They want to build their movement and they want help in doing it. And that's what this is to build. That's what the idea here is that we build
I
fascism
think the Americans
around the
here just
world.
should just join what I'm doing.
The apostolic art.
Just showing my thing a little bit.
And I mean, I support the working with other fascist movements. I absolutely do.
I just absorb the
Mosley
American
was
members.
famous. Mosley was famous for working in other lands with other peoples. Mosley went to Italy, went to Germany, and he built the international dissemination of fascist information. And that's a fact. He built. I don't remember what it was called. It was like, yeah, they had a European affiliation group for it. In which he curated the movement. Oh, Tex died. That's hell. But I was saying, they curated a movement in which around their area would be able to be be assisted by other countries. Because that's what the past torchbearers of fascism wanted us to do. Tex. That's what they wanted us to do. From Mussolini telling us to go forth
No,
and
no,
spread
you
fascism
don't
across
have
the waves.
an
We
international
do.
sort of hub
It's
and
not.
a
It's not an internet. It
whatever
is absolutely an
doing local
international hub. There used
organization.
to be. There used to be. There used to be one. It was around for most of the 60s, 70s, and 80s under Oswald Mosley.
Yeah, before he died. Rip.
Yeah.
Now it dealt with local issues about national issues about
I
each
don't.
country and local.
He did. He did. I didn't. I don't deal with localized issues. That's up for the regional people
Yeah,
to deal with.
that's
I
the
do deal with
But that's
national
still
issues.
under this organization.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
because
think-
they are parties affiliated to my ideology.
Yeah, like
They are
we're-
groups affiliated to my
We're
ideology.
affiliated to his like subsect of fascism, and the whole idea of his like version of fascism, as I understand it, is it's more of just a modernization, like an update for the 21st
Fascism
century.
for the 21st
The
century.
core
Yeah, fascism for
ideas, the
21st
core
century.
ideas stay, that being traditionalism and the corporate state, but like things, there's adjustments. Obviously, a lot of optics things change. We're moving towards I think like a couple different things, like mostly minor
Public activism.
Yeah, public activism. I mean,
No longer are we a party of the underground. We are an ideology that is
we're
sane.
kind of
We are a
emerging.
public ideology.
I mean, here's the
Honestly,
thing. Next year,
I hand an invitation to the Americans here just to join to jump onto my ship, my movement, if you'd like to call it that, because it's
Yeah, if you want,
it's more
I
established.
support any
Established in
fascist
a
movement.
sense.
I support any fascist movement that wants to assist itself. But the people here are here willingly. They came here because they believed in what I'm preaching, what I'm exposing. They're not here because it's the only option. There are other options. Kyle could go and join the Patriot Front if he wanted to, or the National Reformation Front.
The Patriot
He
Front.
chooses.
I don't know. The Patriot Front is a bit. I don't know.
You
It's
could get
just
a,
something
you could get a
hurts
Daily
me
Wire
about them.
subscription.
Yeah, he can go get a Daily Wire subscription for all I know.
Yeah, if
Doesn't
I want
matter.
to read Ben
He
Shapiro, I could read fucking Ben Shapiro. Doesn't mean I want to.
But they choose. The people here choose to be here because they believe in what I'm telling them. They believe in what I'm promising and believe in what I'm preaching here. And that's why they're here.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it's less
I
of a.
feel like,
It's less of a. It's not like a. It's not like that. We're This isn't like one movement. This is a collection of movements, and some of them are just people operating in their own little localized.
For example, the Swiss fascists. There's only a couple guys. It's just a couple guys doing poster work.
A couple guys hanging up posters, occasionally hanging out, smoking a beer, or not smoking a beer. What the fuck, drinking a beer. Dude,
Smoking a
I'm
beer.
so tired. I woke up at like 6:30
Smoking a
this
beer,
morning.
drinking a weed.
Drinking a weed.
You know what, man?
I woke up at
beers and drinking weed
at
is
6:30 this morning. I am not in it right now, but anyway,
smoking a weed,
smoking a weed.
drinking a weed.
Smoking a beer, drinking a weed.
Smoking a beer.
So that's gonna be my most
That's our new
quoted thing
tag.
now.
Yeah, that's the new tagline. Smoking a beer.
Smoking a beer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like you're misconstruing this as like a way, as like an international movement when it's really not. It's just a way to effectively spread ideas. That's what this is.
Absolutely.
And of course,
nothing
like,
to do.
Like, there's a difference
with,
between wanting. There's a difference between wanting. Sorry, honest, I keep interrupting you, but there's a
That's
difference
fine.
between like being an international movement, like the communists are, where they're actively trying to pursue a liberation effort in other countries, versus like we're not bothered with what's going on in other countries. We will help fascists in other countries, but we're not going to go like out of our way, like if we got into power, to invade those countries and install a fascist regime. That's not what we're about. But go ahead, Honest.
I don't know. Something
Let's let
about it
Honest
just
have a
feels a bit
moment to speak.
counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna respond just before we let Honest talk. And that's understandable. Some people will look at us and go, "Well, aren't you just an international movement like you have done?" And we'll respond much the same way as we have to you. This isn't an international movement. It is a willing organization of people who want to.
If you have to explain this so often, I think you're making a.
Well, you
you're
also have to
presenting
explain every
yourselves,
single time.
You
No,
guys
hold on, Tex.
wrong a bit.
Every time you have to talk to somebody, you have to explain to them that you're not a Nazi too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We have to reclaim fascism. We have to reclaim fascism from the gutters of the world that it's been put in, and that's what we're doing. Maybe you don't like the organization effort, and that's fine. People can disagree. I love the opposition. I love having opposition. I invited a number of socialists. Unfortunately, they couldn't attend today. It was a shame. One of them's still on the server. Maybe he'll be here next time we have one of these roundtables. But I promote this kind of opposition because we need to have people who have differing ideas of how things should be done, how things should be organized, and that's very important. Now let's let Honest have his word.
Yeah, Honest. I keep fucking interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, I got my main point across. It's fine.
All right. Now we have a question from Funny Dog. Go ahead. What?
So, Seamus as like, but like you say you
You
give
cut out there.
advice to the many. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
You say you give advice to the many regional coordinators, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
What is some of the key advice you give them for growing movements?
So what we do, right? We set up. So when regional movements came through, I give them authorship on the website if they want to, whatever they want to write. I give them the platform in which to write. I promote them to put activism posters, stuff like that, promotions up around their local areas, and we give them the materials and assistance needed to do these kinds of things, right? For example, we have pins coming out soon. Anis is making us pins. And those will help find local fascist movements find ways of funding and by gaining donations via handing out pins and shit. It's these mediums of ability to find and curate ways of giving people extra ways to do things, extra directions to do things. When a local movement wants to expand itself, we promote its. We help them make posters. For example, in Ireland, the Irish Volunteers, they're an associated group. They're hanging posters now because we helped curate a whole fuck ton of them for them, and now they're hanging them up around Ireland for their own movement. And a similar thing could be said for what was it? The Swiss fascists. They hang up their own.
Could I see
in their
these
own-
posters?
Yeah, they're in posters.
Yeah,
And
like we
the
have a
unfortunately
posters channel.
we don't have the Irish Volunteers in here. Caden is MIA right now, but when he comes back, he'll post his posters that we helped make, and he'll show
Yeah,
that.
we the
If
only
you
ones.
take a little bit of criticism or whatever, I think the posters are a little bit bland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah, that's the idea.
that's
So we push something called minimalistic art, in which it's low value on
Dude,
and it
bloke,
points
it's
across.
not minimalistic. It's just shit. That's what it is. If I'm being blunt.
Hey, printer ink is
You can be blunt.
expensive, man. Printer ink is expensive, you know. That's really what it comes
It's
down
like
to. I would love, like,
very
I have the capabilities to create complex posters. Doesn't mean I want to, because do you know how painful it would be on my printer? Like, Jesus. I need stuff that I can.
There's still a plethora. There's still a lot you can do in black and white.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, this I'm sure that like there'll be evolutions. This is still a
This is
in
the early
progress.
movement.
This is in progress. It's very early in development, let's say. And I'm sure like if we expand enough and we get a couple of artists, we will get better posters, etc. But our posters are only there to catch people's eyes and spread our website so they can infer more and then like read more about our movement. Not our movement,
And
but
then
our
when
ideas.
they reach out, we supply them with the information on fascism, books, articles, other pieces of key information that they need to learn about fascism and its ideology. So we give them the ability to learn these things.
And we get more people reaching out
And-
to us every day. I mean, it's really incredible.
Oh yeah, a lot of them. I get fucking hundreds of emails every day. Our last reader count, I think we had just over 1,000 readers on our website.
Which is pretty good. I mean, and a lot of that comes from posters, by the way. I was gonna hang up those goddamn posters, and we had an ice storm, so the ground is currently frozen outside. So I can't go anywhere and hang up things because I can't get out of my fucking driveway. But that's regardless. Once the ice melts, I'll get down to it. But so in terms of other questions, I lost the thread here. What was the Oh, here we go. So, any recommended literature, music other than the the obvious ones like Mosley's entire collection, Mussolini, Giovanni Gentile, Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, all of those things. Which, by the way, if you want free copies of, we can
Philosophy of Fascism by Mario Palauni. Palametti. However you say it. It's pretty
however
good.
you say that. And by the way, all of this literature, if people on our website do reach out to us, we can supply you with free copies.
We will.
Where's
give you free
the Italian piece you have
Yeah,
translated?
I'll post
Yeah,
it.
we need to
It's a
post
rough
that
translate.
so that people get. And
I'll
by
post
the way, will you send me the translation and the original so that I can proofread it because I am an Italian speaker? So
Yeah, here I'll send it to you right now. I'll send it to you right now. They're already
thank you.
have it.
But in terms of music,
I
if I can,
translated 2 different works, by the way.
yeah, go ahead. In terms of music, I really like in terms of non-political music, I really like a lot of power metal. Like I really like that it's based off like the sort of classical music with modern instrumentation. There's a really good band that I listen to called Rhapsody or Rhapsody of Fire. They're very fantastic. They have an album called Symphony of Enchanted Lands. You can give that one a listen. But what about Honest? Do you have any music or literature?
Nope.
Seamus, you always have something.
Yeah, I do. I do have great amounts of literature. I prefer to read Jose Primo de Rivera. And once you're done with that, you need to get into things like Sorel. His philosophy is very important to the basis of fascism, and his reflections on violence are key to understanding the intense nature of how fascism came to be, especially philosophically. Of course, like you said, the whole Mosley collection. Then I also have some good books on understanding liberal democracy.
Yeah, I'd say this Sorrel is optional.
Yeah, Sorel is optional, but it's very important that you read it eventually at some time. Then the ones that liberal democracy I promote are Democracy: The Gun That Failed by Herman Hope, and Brian Kaplan's The Myth of the Rational Voter. They're important because they even though they're more libertarian books, they describe the failures of modern liberal democracy and how it's failed to even deliver on any of its points. Outside of that, Quadrano for My Legionnaires. It's good if you're, especially if you're a Catholic or a Christian in general, Orthodox especially. That's something important. Austrian Requiem by Schuschelnigg and Joschensmeyer, Dolphus, and Austrian Patriot are also good ones if you want to get involved in the much more outside fascists, people who aren't exactly mainstream fascists. And then if you're into the Economic Foundations of Fascism by Peter Enzig, and the Thomas A. Raven's The Coming Corporate State are key in understanding the economics of fascism.
Yep. Do you have some sort of newspaper?
If you want something that's not, I just wanted one more book before we go through.
Oh, okay.
If I'm in the middle of reading this great book. It's called How to Think Like a Roman Emperor: The Stoic Philosophy of Marcus Aurelius by Donald Robertson. It's good for Stoics, people who want to learn how to live much more minimalist lives, while also extracting the most amount out of it they can. Learning Stoicism is important if you want to be a leader in general. I find it gives you the foresight and the ability to look something difficult and transfixing in the face and deal with it immediately without any kind of reservation.
Yeah. So do you have some sort of newspaper? Yes, we do. I write for it. Seamus writes for it. Seamus site fascisti.wordpress.com. Eventually, we're going to get that WordPress part taken out. Seamus, you need to do that. I've been nagging you about it for a couple weeks now.
As soon as we get the first donation line from the pins, the
pins are going to help pay for that. But basically, right now the website's kind of.
Where do you guys get your pins from?
We've
made them locally.
Honest is making them.
That is why he's the Minister of Labor.
Yeah, it's because he's literally our slave. We enslaved him and made him make pins for us.
He's our Chinese child sweatshop.
Yeah, but actually, jokes aside, though, I've seen the designs Honest is like working on, and they do look really fucking awesome. So I actually really can't wait to get those out. I think that we're making them out of brass, right? Or
yes, we're making them out of brass.
Something, yeah.
Brass. Bronze. I could make them out of bronze. There's options for limited runs as well. We could do like a limited run in gold if we really wanted to.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, it's going to look really great. So I'm actually really looking forward to those. But anyway, so yeah, we do have that, and I must admit that the quality of the website is not perfect, but we did just get in touch with an actual like web designer. So. Or I did anyway. I don't know if he actually made contact with Seamus, but
what's his name?
I forget. Hold on, let me. He may have made contact with you. I'm not sure. I met him through a group of gamers I'm involved in, but Gamers Rise Up. Hold on, let me find. Oh, Stino. Did Stino, Stino?
Perhaps.
Yeah, he may have made. If he hasn't made contact with you, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Well, so he's actually like a proper web designer. So we'll get in contact with him, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll have a better looking website before this is over.
Yeah.
but but you know, maybe a little bit of bias here, but I do actually like the articles. Admittedly, the first article I wrote was more of just like rambling, you know, grr, I'm mad at the world, but like now I'm like actually putting out, you know, professional pieces and stuff like that.
It's good. And if any fascists out there want to put an article in, all they have to do is reach out to us, shoot us an email, either on our Proton mail or through the contact form. And if you want to put an article out, we'll help you put an article through.
Yeah, I mean, it's really that's really all there is to it. We really want more people to write for us. And anybody can. I mean, and eventually I hope to have this function more like a proper newspaper with an editing team and everything. But for now, we're starting out pretty minimal.
That's the future.
Yeah. Who are your allies?
The next question.
And who are your enemies?
And who are the allies and enemies?
So allies.
Actually, I got DMs on Twitter now from Antifa group that do not like us.
Yeah, they're mad. What you need to send me some screenshots of those because I need to make a meme compilation. But so you know, in terms of enemies, you know, communists, socialists, Marxists, the neoliberal system, the you know, people who are anti-us, basically. I mean, you know, that's really what it comes down to. Allies, anybody who isn't anti-us, pretty much. I mean, that's really what you have to center it down to. I mean,
we do, but we do have some working relationships. The New British Union under Gary Rakes, we have contact with them through Caden. Then we have what's the name? The Gaelic Volunteers, the Gaelna fucking whatever, Congbreak, the Gaelic Youth, and a few other groups like that. We have contact and association with them, and they're doing some interesting work with us out in the field in those countries.
I'm going to try to get in touch with some people from either Patriot Front or National Reformation Party and see if maybe they can spread around some of our written work. It would be nice to maybe we'll finally compile together those collected writings and we'll get those spread around. Yeah, hopefully the collected writings.
I don't know if associating with the New British Union led by Gary Rakes is such a good idea.
Why not? It's an old movement. It's got
it's Gary Rakes. I don't know. Doesn't have a good reputation in Britain, and in his newsletter, or at least parts that I've read, he's posted American fascists, or at least that claim, who are like complete loonies who believe like in Vril and stuff. Like, you know what Vril is?
Yeah, we know what Vril is. Yeah, we know what that is.
We're familiar.
I think association with the MBU would
we'll never forget the memory.
Movements down rather than raise them up. And also the National Reformation Party sort of broke up. There was a schism within it.
There was a schism within the Apostolic Guard too, Tank.
Yeah.
Movements have schisms.
It happens.
The NRP is still the same. The Patriot Front's still going.
The NRP isn't really the same. Neuer's leadership is really running the thing into the ground, and all the most active, best members of it jumped ship.
He wanted a more philosophical view, and I applaud Neuer for having a philosophical view, but that's not the best way to move an actual activist movement. I think he should have been more focused on real world work rather than just writing.
Yeah, I mean
these days. We are.
These days, I mean, dude, think about it. Next year will be a century since the March on Rome. I mean, it's
exactly.
You know, it's time that we come out of the fucking woodwork and start doing.
I can't wait to see all these celebrations in Italy. The Casa Pound and the Lazio.
That's gonna be awesome, dude. I'm gonna have
Casa Pound as a movement's kind of meh, in my opinion.
No, it's blossomed. It's become same with the Lazio.
If you look at their social views, they think they're the continuation of like some of these leftist figures. They have no problem with abortion. And it's stupid.
Sometimes, okay, Tex. You have to realize that the fascist movement is modernizing. And while I will always stand in an anti-abortion stance.
No. Here's the thing. There's modernization, and then there's bastardization. And this is a bastardization.
The Casa Pound isn't bastardizing the fascist movement. They still hold true to the factual movement of fascism. as exposed by Benito Mussolini in Italy. They just view that it will be easier to conduct their work if their social views are pragmatic, and that's understandable. It's absolutely
bro.
the same thing with
It's
Fallon.
not.
Fallon
It's
is
not
doing-
about what's easy or what's.
It's never about what's easy. It's about what works. Fascism has always been a movement that thought on its feet. Okay, Mosley appealed to the suffragettes.
That's true.
The communists refused to. They said women didn't belong in politics. Mosley said, "Of course they do," and he brought them in mass.
Yeah.
We have to realize that with the time comes with time comes change, and the change to fascism has been that we need to modernize. We need to push a platform that is more indicative of the modern world rather than the world of the past. And though we will still hold true to the traditional views of fascism and the belief that the nation has always been better and it needs to always get better, there are ways that we have to work now that don't exactly coincide with how things used to be way back. You know?
Yeah, I
We
mean, you know,
can't.
and the thing is like, you know, our personal stance is, you know, against that. But, you know, we can't
Of course,
tell.
we want to maintain tradition, but tradition without reason is pointless, and that's a fact. Tradition without reason is just pointless. Okay, and abortion is bad. It is bad, and I believe so as a Catholic, and I believe so as a Christian, that abortion is murder in effect. But the Casa Pound realizes that in Italy right now, the climate towards abortion is not, you know, on the side of Catholicism. And the Casa Pound sees that what they need to do is they need to modernize their movement to meet the demand. And I believe that Casa Pound will roll back some of the abortion to more extreme cases like rape or incest, which I would be fine with in most countries around the world. And I believe that most traditionalists would also be fine with if the abortion was only
Yeah, like
retained to
that's
people who-
different. Like that's not like grift. That's not like, you know, doing
that's
it to
not-
avoid the
that's not
responsibility.
alternative to birth control. Yeah, that's not alternative to birth control. That's just there's a serious health issue or a risk with it.
Or, you know, you got raped, which, you know, that's
Yeah.
not your fault.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not your fault, and that needs to be dealt with by that should be a free, accessible service to people who can, you know, prove that they've been raped or they were part of an incestuous relationship or that they were, you know, that the child will kill them. Those types of situations they need to be treated. They need to be helped.
yeah. I mean, the
But
thing
I
is
don't
with this issue,
Casa
like
Pound-
people lump it into like two sides when there's really an in between, and that's where we stand. You know, it's like we are against it. You know, unless the
It should be a type of birth control. It shouldn't
Yeah,
be. That's wrong. It
That's
should be
really
just
what it
used-
comes down
oh,
to.
you forgot the pill. Better just get an abortion.
Better,
No, it
you
shouldn't
know,
be like that. It should be
better
based
eat it.
around. Yeah, it should be based around need, not want.
Yeah, but
What's the next question?
fucking, how did you come into contact with Seamus? I met him through Don't Laugh, Roblox Politics. No regrets. No regrets at all. 10 out of 10 experience. I'd do it again, as Oswald Mosley would say. Go ahead, Seamus. Or actually, Seamus,
do it
you are you.
Yeah,
Honest, how did you meet Seamus?
Just drifting from Discord server to Discord server, mainly. Found him.
Yeah, it would have been a bit better if we had a bit more black shirts in here that wanted to talk.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Unfortunately, for some people, it is currently like 4:00 in the morning. So you know,
Like
we
you,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah. So, opinions on white supremacy. It's cringe. National
already touched on
socialism.
that.
It's cringe. And siege. It's cringe. We've already talked about that. Opinion on violence. Our stance on violence is pretty much, you know, only defend yourself. Never start a fight.
Yeah, we don't seek violence. We don't seek violence. We
never
defend
start
ourselves.
a fight because you're not going to, you know, you're not going to win any arguments by starting a fight with somebody, you know?
Exactly. Fighting is only for those in self-defense.
Yeah.
Next is, how do you deal with communists/anarchists? And I like this question because it's about how we discuss with the opposition. And how I discuss with them is I try to sit them down and have a calm, you know, proper discussion where we discuss politics, we discuss economics, we discuss social policy. But it's hard now in the modern day because it's now perfectly socially acceptable to put your fingers in your ears and go, nope, I can't hear you, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, You know,
And then,
we will
yeah.
try to convince them, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a certain group of people who just, and you know, I've met communists before that were upstanding people that were able to defend their views
Absolutely,
and had intellectual conversations.
Exactly, that's what I did. I invited a whole bunch of communists who had that were that were able to protect their own views, and I wanted them to attend one of these roundtables so that we could discuss with them economics of women, because that is, you know, the goal.
Yeah. And you know,
Um,
we will always have a place in our dialogue for those people. I think that those people who are
Exactly.
actually capable of defending their own views, and you know, even if I will disagree with them until the cows come home, I mean, I think it's it's still good to have those discussions. Now, there again, as you said, there's a certain group of people who just cannot and will not debate. You just can't debate with those people. We just move on. It's best not to waste our time with those people. Because those people will not have their minds changed. They need to have their minds changed on their own. We can't do anything
Exactly.
about that. How do you deal with
we can't
people who
provoke
think
debate.
National Socialism and fascism are the same thing? That really has the same answer. I mean, it's
We try to discuss. We try to tell them the differences. We wrote articles about it. We post books. We have basically gone through every single
yeah. I mean, at this point,
fascist writing. I've gone through every piece of fascist writing I can find. And every time they always make a clear distinction between the two. I don't know why people still. It's all the fault of Georgi Dimitrov, a Bulgarian communist who in 1947.
that's the
conflated
one. I
two
couldn't remember
and
his name.
Yeah, Georgi Dimitrov. That's the guy who has stuck us with his fucking association to Nazis, and it's horrific. Every single fascist piece of writing has a clear separation between fascism and National Socialism. Even those who are even closer to National Socialism than fascism, like when you read, even people who aren't, like people on the outside. Look at Anton Hilfman. He was a German fascist, and he said that Hitler, under no circumstances, deserved to be called a fascist. That was too high of an honor. You know,
Yeah.
all of these types of things, they clearly define the difference between the two. I don't know why people still conflate them. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, what do you? I mean, I think it's really just it just comes down to, at this point we've written articles. Now we have a video. We've got we've done all sorts of stuff. We have tried our damnedest to explain to people that we are not the same as them. We've proven it to the best of our ability. If some people still do not understand that, there is nothing we can do to convince those people. There just isn't. Yeah. And we have to move on. We can't we can't just argue with those people all day who think that we are them and they are us, because it's just not how it is. Anyway, what about fascists of different ethnicities in your ranks? I don't have a problem with those people.
We have Skeet the Kid. He's our resident black fascist.
Yeah.
Great guy. Funny guy. He's fucking hilarious. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a problem with people of different ethnicities. I mean, my view is like I always say, if you are my countryman, you are my comrade. But anyway, so views on anime weeps. Well, I watched Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, and I still think it's one of the greatest shows ever. Now, on
is that like their entire personalities that they watch anime?
Yeah, that's what a weeaboo is. Their entire personality, and they might have like body pillows and be like degenerate. I mean, there's a certain level of like degeneracy that you can't just tolerate. But like if you just like casually watch anime, I mean, I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some animes out there looking at you, fucking girls in Panzer, that are just fucking degenerate. Just terrible. Like I can't believe people actually watch them. But like, like. There's a lot of great animes out there.
Let's not get too stuck in anime. We don't want fascism. It's official policy.
Fascism is now now fascism is branded with anime, and there's nothing we can do about that now. Anyway, does power corrupt people? Now, Seamus, you're better equipped to answer this question. Does power corrupt people?
Depends, because the difference is in a liberal democracy, people are conditioned to want and control. That's the whole point of liberal democracies, that they want at all costs to be at the top. So, in order to combat that, you have to confront the psychology of people. In the modern liberal democracy, of course, people want power, and thus they will be corrupted. But people like us, fascists, we don't seek power. We don't seek the unnecessary searching for power and for control, because we are content in knowing that our work, whether or not we are successful, is for the betterment of our country and the betterment of our people. We don't work for our own self-servants, and that way we are very Spartanistic. We understand that we are individuals, but we only exist and only work as a group, because outside of that, we are nothing, you know? And
Yeah.
so when the fascist takes power, he doesn't take power for himself, he takes power for the people. He takes power for the country. And he does what is in the best interest of the country and the people. And Mussolini writes about this in his final days, especially his final letter to his wife, which, if you've read it, it brought me to tears. It was a very sad letter. Um, it was written 2 days before his death, and he describes how he never wanted it, he never believed that he would be in power for his whole life. He believed that at some point the Italian people would tire of having him in control, and that he would retire comfortably to his small cottage in the countryside and be content that he did everything he possibly could for the betterment of the country. And it's that kind of outlook on life that is indicative to the fascists. Like Mussolini, stuck in Milan while the country was collapsing in 1945 in April, was still writing. He was
Yeah.
still writing, and he still believed earnestly that no matter what, fascism would survive him. That it would go beyond him. It would go out into the world. And I quoted him earlier, the Palmero article, where he talks about how fascism needs to spread forth and go over the waves, and it does. Fascism. He figured that out the hard way. He figured out that isolated fascism dies, and it dies alone. The light of
I
fascism
think
can be
he's.
extinguished.
I think he's. I think he would be very happy to know that 80 years later, people are still carrying on his legacy, still spreading his literature.
Exactly.
I mean,
When Mosley said, "Brother Blackshirts, guide this flame forwards," he wasn't just saying people of England. He was saying people of the world, people of the fascist creed around the world, to carry forth the torch, carry forth the belief in fascism. Because when it comes down to it, it is entirely needed that the fascist lead from his example and lead from the examples of the past. And we need to take from the information that we were given and give it new life and give it new purpose. So when we say brother Blackshirt, carry on the to carry on the torch, that's what we have to do. We can't ignore that. We can't abandon the goal, right? We can't abandon the ideology. We're not fascists because we want power. We're not fascists because we're bootlickers. We're fascists because we earnestly believe in the ideology. This isn't a power grab. A power grab would be me joining the Tory party and running for parliament. That would
Yeah.
be a power grab. I could easily go and get my way into a normal party and run and rise up the ranks that way and grab power. Any one of us could do that. Any one of the fascists here could go ahead and join any one of the political parties in their liberal democracy and climb that ladder like they earnestly wanted to. But we choose actively to step away from the degenerate, broken liberal democracy and try to build a better nation, a better world for tomorrow. And while you may argue that the fascist movement is inherently anti-international, I completely agree. But that does not mean that black shirts around the world cannot assist each other. It does not mean that you can't toil in other lands, in other cultures to help them build fascism. It's exactly what Mosley did. It's exactly what the fascists of Spain did. It's exactly what the fascists of Italy did. They built a world that they wanted to see, and a world where each fascist state works together, and the sole propriety of building a better state for each and every one of its people is a world which we see no more war, we see no more genocides, we see no more mass murder or famine deaths or deaths because they couldn't afford healthcare or insulin. We remove that by building a better world of tomorrow, one nation at a time.
Yeah.
But unlike the communists, we don't promote the idea of every nation needing to work distinctly together and become one. We love other cultures. We love the diversity of the human race, you know? We love that everybody is different. And that needs to stay that way. People need to be different. That's what makes the world what it is. Imagine a world where everything was just the same. Everybody was just a one gray blob. There was no culture anymore, no industrial work. That's what the world is moving towards. Everybody works that dead end fucking office job, 9 to 5, day in and out, to get your paycheck to pay for your flat, your small little apartment in the corner of a big megatropolis, longing for the way out, the existence outside that never comes.
Yeah, and I mean,
The 2-day vacation.
there's a difference between like, international, like you said, difference between internationalism and assisting other groups. Like, I'll still assist groups in other countries, but when it comes down to it, my nation and its problems will always come first. So that's basically
Exactly.
the objective there, and we
The
understand
priority
that
will always be in our own country.
we understand that other groups think that way too. It's fine, it's not like we're leaving them out in the cold, but we just have to deal.
Just because you are America first or Ireland first doesn't mean that you can't be America second. You know, you deal with your own country first, and then you look to the world to see where you can help.
Yeah, that's
That
the
doesn't mean
difference.
mass
That's the
importation of
difference
people.
between now,
That doesn't
really.
exactly.
Now
That doesn't.
we
That's the
don't
difference
handle
between
our
them
own
and us.
problems.
That's the difference. It's the difference between them and us. The liberal democracy wants the entire world to be one conglomerate corporate mass, while the communist wants the world to be one conglomerate communist mass where nobody has a name, nobody has a face. You just work endlessly, work. In both ways, you live a soulless existence. They take away from you the soul of being a human. They give you some meager wage slave position, and the rest of your life is spent toiling away in the servants of your corporate master. You live the rest of your life alone, or maybe if you're lucky, you get a wife who also works the same job and then works the same life forever in the same existence, the same monogamous fucking circle that becomes indefinite till the day you die.
Yeah.
That's the future where we don't accept fascism. That's the future that we're heading towards every day. Lockstep in the same direction.
Oh Jesus, black pill. Okay. All right.
It is a black pill. We have the white pill. We have the solution. We have the cure to our monogamy, to our broken system, and it's right in front of us. We just need to take it.
Do you play Tannenberg? Moving on past that, do you play Tannenberg? No, I don't. I play a lot of World of Warcraft, but
Great game.
Oh no.
I hear Tannenberg's pretty good.
Thoughts
but-
on transgender and homosexual people? There's a good question.
Yes, there's a good question. So, from a religious perspective, I view homosexuality as a sin. However, from a, from a societal perspective, I don't have a problem with what people do behind closed doors. That's
In the privacy
but
of your
that's the
bedroom,
key.
it's none of our
That's the key, though. The key word, though, behind closed doors.
Exactly.
You know?
Man and woman, woman and woman, man and man doesn't matter. I don't want to
Just
see it. in
keep
public.
it out.
Nobody
Yeah, I
wants
don't want
see
to
it.
fucking see it. It's not my business, no matter who you're sleeping with.
Nobody wants to see. Nobody wants to see you fuck your partner in the street. Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that. Now, for transgender people, it's a different issue. They aren't. They're sick. It's not their
Yeah,
fault.
it's-
They have a mental illness
it-
called gender dysphoria, and it's on the DSM-5. And I'm not being rude. I'm not being transphobic. I'm being accurate. It is a mental illness. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness, and they need help. They need serious help, and transitioning doesn't help them. Living in a worldview of somebody who's sick doesn't help them. Okay, we have proof. We have the studies that show that even after transitioning, it does nothing. They live the same lives and they have the same suicide rates as they did before the transition and during the transition because it's not something that you can fix by changing and mutilating your body. It's just not. It's something that you need to fix by going through therapy, going through, counseling sessions, and finding actual help that gets you to get over your gender dysphoria. Your misplacement of body.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
there's tons of people who like you can find online, like tons of people who had gender dysphoria and they've gone to therapy for it and they're doing much better now. They live normal lives. I mean, but the issue is, I mean, it's just a problem in your brain. I think really what has happened is it's sort of been weaponized by
by the liberal democracy,
by the
in
liberal
order to
democracy.
find a way to break us even more. Because the conservative, there's a good quote from Primo de Rivera, and it's the conservative will conserve everything, even the injustice. The liberal will destroy everything, even the good, and the socialist will destroy all.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not necessarily that they even really care about their rights or anything. It's more of just that they want to use that point to divide people more, and they've convinced half the country that it's not a mental illness.
Think about it. In the Overton window, the size of a pinprick, they find issues that divide everyone down the center. How do they build such a perfect division of people? Just think about that. How do they get that? How do you go from, living out normal lives to suddenly being divided over something as fucking mediocre as what sex you can change yourself to. Like,
Yeah, I mean it's but and we will if there are any people who are suffering from gender
division.
dysphoria.
Division, is that not the word of the times? Division.
Yeah, division.
Right? But
It
of course,
honestly is.
we need everything we have, don't we? We need to stream. We need to stream opinions, truth, lies. Of course, we need it. We need to consume. We need to consume without purpose, consume without reason, consume without regard for one another.
Consuming.
The chains nowadays are so many, so diverse. How do we pin down exactly what is keeping us where we are, right? Unlike the 20th century, we cannot see the chains that bind us. It's not a physically sight, we don't see the injustice every day anymore. Unless, of course, you're a liberal, in which everything is an injustice. Is it what? What is it? Is it the oppressive? Was the oppressive politics? Is it the capitalists, the elites, the reclusive Freemasons, the restrictions of faith, the religions? The chains have become so numerous that the old adage of "break the change" is hollow and without meaning. How do we break the chains? How do we free ourselves from this mundane circle of life? Through mountains of conflict around us, it is a breeding ground for the radicalization and ideological possession that we see around us. People latch onto leaders with shining personalities, or those who aren't the guy you dislike. As Nietzsche once said, God is dead. But people have never been so desperate for guidance. The personality becomes one with the policy. The politics, the eternal war of solutions, or what it's supposed to be, never seems like that. When you read the headlines or go online, it's just a pretense to go on to something else. Until somebody discusses, when is the last time you've heard somebody discuss policy and actually care? No one. No one does, because nobody cares anymore. But everyone cares about last week's shooter or this week's riot, because it enshrines the belief that they currently have. It's comforting. It's reassuring that they were right about something. People feel safe in the idea that they were right, that something would happen, a riot or a shooting, because there's something wrong, like gun control or racism or something like that. They need something to hate and someone to follow. The dependence stifles your growth, blinds your sight, and allows us to enable horrors beyond comprehension. War, famine, murder. It is a virus of it at its ultimate evolution, appearing to us like a drug, allowing us to bathe in the bliss of a comforting idea of the loss of the sight. Absolutely, it is a scam. But how can the blinded tell? When they are so to pay the price of their virtue. Our technological distance keeps the fighting down, but the chaos burns so bright it drives people to madness. Think about what I've said. Think about it. It's a war that sustains itself. A flame that will not die as the media throws everlasting fuel to the fire. It's our new mechanically automated engine of social division, our horrific beauty. When you feel drowned in the hatred and madness online, they give you 3 ways out. 3 simple ways out. Narcissism, possession, and nihilism. Do not give to that temptation. Ask yourself instead, who made it this way? A perfectly divided populace within an Overton window the size of a pinprick. It's not left versus right. It is us versus them.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, holy shit. All right. Wow. That was fucking awesome. So last question of the night. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. Opinions on pedos. Hang them. Kill them. Draw and quarter them.
Hang them.
Hang them, kill them, draw and
The
quarter.
sexualization of children is unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, you can't expect God to do all the work,
Unironically though, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing that happens in society. It's proven that can be cured through psychiatry, etc. They need to be helped. They really need to be helped. And those who act out needs to be detained, put in prison, and helped forcibly. They need to be forcibly helped. They need to be
those who refuse
and also
to take
punished
help
for their
need to be
actions.
dealt with. People who refuse to get help for such sick actions need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, but
they're going to hell either way.
What?
What was that, email?
What was that in here?
They're going to hell either way. No point in helping them.
Yeah,
absolutely they're going to hell. But what we can do in this world is we can give them the opportunity to try and make amends for their sick and disgusting way of life.
Yeah, I mean, but if they refuse, then they get the rope. But anyway, so I do want to. Does anybody have any final thoughts about tonight? Any last thoughts you want to put out?
This is the start of a very long series we're going to do.
Yes, and we're going to have way better quality.
Equality is only going to
How
get better
would
over time.
checks and balances work in some sort of a
Oh,
fascist
you want to know the
government?
checks and balances of the fascist government? Of course. Before we leave, I'll leave you on some checks and balances for the corporate state. Mosley describes them as a democracy. And of course, what we're going to build is a new and pure democracy because the current democratic system is broken and the socialist democratic system is no better. It's a lie. So, what we need to do is we need to curate a system in which we can exist happily and understand that our powers are subject to the people. Now, the fascist movement accepts that at any time in its government, the people may call a plebiscite, may call a vote of referendum against the leader. If they disagree so vividly with the leader of the movement, the leader of the country, then they can call a plebiscite. And otherwise, there is a system of government called the Council of Syndicates or the corporations. And how that works is at each workplace, say you work as a doctor, you elect a representative, a doctor, to a council of doctors at your local area, who then select somebody to represent them on the national level or the council of doctors. Now, that council of doctors is a member of the general councils of corporations. The council of doctors will select one person to go and sit on the generalized, larger corporate council or syndicate council, right? On which there would be as many examples as there were industries, right? Mosley and in his book, or not his book, rather, the Coming Corporate State List. Hold on, I'll give you the actual. It lists 25 corporate pods: agricultural, fishing, mining and fuel, iron and steel, metal trade, engineering, printing and paper trade, shipbuilding, textiles, leather and rubber, glass and pottery, chemicals, woodworking and furnishing, clothing, building, public utilities, transport, shipping and docks, wholesale and retail trades, banking and insurance, civil service, professional, art and entertainment, domestic, and then pensioner. These would be split into smaller groups in single industries within local regions. And then, rather than having your regional democracy, in which you were elected on your region, your constituency, your borough, you'd be elected by your profession. So, the doctor would elect the doctor, so that you have a say in how your field is brought into the future. And each elected official would have the responsibility of representing and controlling their local environment. So, a member of parliament for the doctors in his local council of doctors would have control over that council of doctors. He would represent them, and so forth. And then he would also have control over how they do things. Say there's a new policy coming up in the local council of doctors. He would have control over how deep that policy is implemented, the veto, etc. It's sort of like localized democracy, then federal democracy, put into one, so that you have a small, steady system of checks and balances.
Yeah.
All the way up to the top. Does that answer your question, Meatflow?
Absolutely. Good answer.
Yeah. I mean that was actually a really in-depth answer, and I'm going to actually forward that particular clip to people who ask about that sort of thing, because we actually do get that question quite a bit. I'm glad somebody brought it up.
We do.
So anyway, so the last thing I want to do tonight before we shut this here podcast off, I guess this is a podcast, isn't it?
Roundtable, yeah.
Yeah, roundtable podcast, whatever. I do want to close with a small 1-minute clip from it's a song Seamus showed me about. It's called Old Fenian Chief, and it is a song that was sang by the Irish fascists, the Blue Shirts, under Ian O'Duffy in the 1930s. And of course, O'Duffy later became the leader of Fine Gael, etc., or Fine Gael, etc., whatever you want to call it. Pronunciation's not my thing, and I'm an American. But I do want to close with that bit. So thank you for watching, everyone, or listening, or whatever. And I wish you all a safe and happy future. Whatever. I'm bad at exits, but
Ave.
Ave. God bless you all. Ave. Presente.
Hey, everybody. Ave. Ave. Ave.
Ave.
Presente.
Ave. Presente. Well, thank you guys. Later.
Oh, tell me, my lads, said the old Fenian chief, the goal that you boys have in view, and what brings you forth from all over the land in your colours so stately and blue. The goal that we strive for, my worthy old friend, is the goal for which brave men and strong have given their lives, and that goal will be won when the blue shirts come marching along. And the old Fenian chief, as the tears filled his eyes, oh, so proudly he took me by the hand, and he said, "Oh, my lad, I bless you today, and bless everyone in your band. I know of the fame of your leader, so bold, so noble, and fearless and strong. Oh, Duffy will lead you to victory, my friends, when the blue shirts come marching along."